CN Radio. Hear the difference.
Now the news. I'm Shane Bigger. Chinese President Xi Jinping started a meeting on the development of the Yangtze River Economic Belt. He praised local government efforts in prioritizing conservation and green development in the region since the blueprint for the Yangtze River Economic Belt made its debut in 2018. President Xi also said high-quality development in the region hinges on the environment of the Yangtze River Basin, and governments at all levels must double down on their green efforts. He also called for leveraging the region's tech edge and talent pool to modernize industrial and supply chains, foster advanced manufacturing, and combine the digital economy with the real economy. China's voiced its firm opposition to unilateralism and trade protectionism that abuses trade remedies. The Chinese Commerce Ministry spokesperson was responding to a query over the European Union's plan to conduct an anti-subsidy probe into Chinese steelmakers. The spokesperson said such an approach will disrupt international trade rules, increase downstream manufacturing costs, and affect consumer interests, which is detrimental to the stability of the global supply chain. The Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin and Kyrgyz President Sardar Chaparov have held talks in the capital of the Central Asian country. This is Putin's first foreign trip this year. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has pledged support and more weapons deliveries for Israel. The top U.S. diplomat arrived in Israel on Thursday and met Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. On Saturday, the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement launched a surprise attack on southern Israeli towns adjacent to the Gaza Strip, prompting Israel to launch retaliatory strikes on Gaza. Both sides have suffered heavy casualties, with the number of deaths at more than 2,600 as of Thursday. Syrian state television says Israel's bombed the country's main international airports in Damascus and Aleppo. Runways were damaged at both airports. Syria activated air defense systems in response to the attacks. Regional stakeholders have stepped up efforts to allow safe passage for the evacuation of foreigners from the Gaza Strip. They're also trying to bring urgent aid through the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. Meantime, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman have discussed the situation in Gaza. Adel Al-Marouki reports.
Well, it has been widely celebrated to see that Saudi Arabia and Iran are talking, especially the leaders of the two countries are talking for the first time since the resumed diplomatic ties, thanks to China's mediation and brokering this significant diplomatic deal in the region. Besides that, they have been focusing on the talks about the situation in the Palestinian crisis, specifically what is going on in Gaza and the war waged there. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has stressed that civilians from all sides must be protected and no one should target civilians on any side. Meanwhile, the Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi has also talked about what kind of support the two countries can provide to the Palestinians and support the strife they're facing and the humanitarian crisis they're going through.
Another magnitude 6.3 earthquake hit western Afghanistan on Wednesday. It came just days after the first left thousands of people dead or injured in the same region. See, Marialai Abbasson has more.
The situation remains the same for the people because they are still living in fear, and most of the family, thousands of them are living under open sky in different parts of Herat city where I'm located now. It's a place which is 40 kilometers away from Zindajan district, which was the worst hit. I visited one of the villages, but luckily there was no fatalities because the people had already evacuated the area and they've been living in a very harsh condition around the village in open areas where the risk is a little bit less.
A report shows positive impacts of Chinese loans on African economic growth. The report by a department of Peking University focuses on the effectiveness of China's sovereign financing in Africa. It examines Chinese investments and lending practices to nearly 50 African countries over 2 decades. The findings show China's lending mainly focused on infrastructure, which is different from commercial lenders. The analysis also finds that China's financing is increasingly significant to local countries, but it does not fundamentally alter the conventional rules of global development finance. The 59th Chicago International Film Festival is kicked off. The event is North America's longest-running competitive film festival. This year's theme is Critics Welcome, which embraces questions and conversations on the films. And that's the news. I'm Shane Bingham.